So today we're bit of Blue Peter going on here. Here's one I did earlier, and here's one I'm about to do. So they've been vapor blasted. They've been in the machine, mainly for cleaning really. Completely stripped, no components on them whatsoever. Completely stripped in the machine, clean them all off, and then you can give them a nice new coat of paint. So yeah, we've just got this to the point now. Put the cam followers back in, ground the valves in, just give them a light lap. There was nothing really wrong with them, as you can see with the faces of even them valves there. So we've got new O-rings for the actual cam follower shafts, rocker shafts, whatever you want to call it, all my collets, and a whole bunch of new valve stem seals for this head. Rear head here, and obviously I'm just going to clean this paint just off the top here, just give it a wipe with some thinners and get that off the top there. But yeah, generally it looks nice. So looks nice and ready to fit back to the motor. So there we go, nicely clean, prepped, ready for refitting. The marks you see on there, by the way, are kind of, even though they have antifreeze in, they're like little, where the gasket is, little, don't know what, slight corrosion marks perhaps, don't know, but anyway it's absolutely flat. So had the Gary block on it, don't know if any of you guys use that, but the Gary block on, brilliant little device for cleaning up faces, ready for going on. So yeah, we're going to get this head to the same state as that, and what cleaning to do, get the valves ground in, just lap them in. I mean, as you can see, the seats really, I hope the camera's picking that up, the seats really are quite good. No excessive pitting or anything, so I'm just going to give them a little lap, which I'll probably do on camera, might as well. So that, like I say, they've been painted. You've just got to get the paint off this edge, which does look a lot nicer when it's done. I think we've actually still got the other side of that one to do yet, but yeah, I like that. So there we go, their head, waiting for some attention. And again, the paint I used is the Worth stuff. It's not cheap, but I mean, everyone has their own personal preference, don't they? But for me, this is the stuff that looks closest to factory. Does harden off when the engine's been run a while, and yeah, so that for me is my sort of go-to choice. So anyway, I'll pick it up in a minute when we get going a bit. So to start with the Gary block, a little bit of light oil on it. And all I'm going to do, I don't want it running down everywhere, all over everything, but just find out what the face is like now after they've been in the vapor blaster, and any little dings, any damage, any little chips anywhere, any little dents, or but yeah, now it's been painted, it's just got to kind of get the excess off. And that's essentially it. So just keep putting a little bit of light oil on it. Remember, this block is not removing any metal whatsoever. So we can get the big ruler on it and check for flatness, is that a word? Make sure it's flat. There's a dowel in this side that I think is pretty reluctant to, so I don't want to make work for myself. If the case is, if it'll come out, I'm going to try and get it out in a minute so I can get this bit round the dowel, but for the purpose of this video, just for the minute, I'll just do there, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah, some little marks here that I want to, there's remnants of, I don't know, perhaps well seal or something that's been on it before. Not 100% sure, but anyway, we'll have a look at that. I'll look at that shortly. I think what we'll do now, because I've got a valve prepped, shift that out of the way, because I've got a valve prepped. So we've got a bit of fine grade, and there's a tiny bit around the face of the seat of the valve. Okay, now as I've got it that way, when it was upside down, in my head I know where that. So this is the inlet valve from here, which is from here. The guides have had the valve stem seals are off. The guides have had a little bit of the light oil down just to help with the sort of you know, the grinding in, and I'm just going to do old school, as you can hear with that. So all we're going to do, I'm not going to do everyone on camera. It's the most boring frigging video that I've ever done, wouldn't it? But I'm just looking for a nice uniform seat. You can kind of hear it when it's as it starts to get a little bit less that aggressive, if you like. Is that the right word? But that first, so what I'm going to do now is just take it out. Careful that the stem doesn't touch the valve grinding paste that's inside the and we'll have a look. Yeah, I've got the Wife's Best t-shirt here. I mean, I was struggling for rags, but suddenly realised there's no struggle when you go up to the wardrobe. Anyway, we've so are we seeing that? Can we get that in the right light? Nice uniform, little grey. I'm not sure that's picking that up, but so there we go. And what I want to do is check in here. The light's not fantastic here today for whatever it is. Let me have a look in here. Now let's see if I can show you this. There's obviously the right hand side one hasn't been, but that left hand side one now you can kind of see. What is it? Mil and a half, something like that, maybe 2 mil wide. I think there's a spec for seat width, but look, you know what? We're not HRC, are we? You know what I mean? It's a. I think for what we want, it's more about maintaining a good seal. So that valve from there, I'm going to move along that way, which moves along that way when it's vice versa. I know which way it is. Don't try confusing me. Okay, you have to keep your head in gear on this. Anyway, right, so I shall proceed to do the other valves, and then we'll have a look at sticking the stem seals on and actually fitting one with a valve spring compressor. Great stuff. Pick it up in a minute. Okay, so we've just Gary blocked the face of this, just get the paint off. So we're working on exhaust here, we're working on inlets, and I have in my head that's forward. So when the valves are in the head, that's forward. Okay, front head, so which means now it's turned this way around, that valve is from that position. So we move to our little valve stem seals. Just pick that up there. Makes absolute no sense to not change these when you, and all they do is they just click over like a barb on the end of that valve guide. So all I'm going to do is click. So we get the, I've done the inlets, so I've got the inlets done. I don't know how much, because it's such a fiddly job getting them collets, how much of this we can actually film. I was always going to lose one, wasn't I? But anyway, I thought I had him again. Hang on, where are we? Just there. Okay, so we have now our 4 valve stem seals on. So with this valve is this port, this valve stem. On this port, this valve. Okay, so I'm going to turn her over and it's now this side. So essentially what I've got, you'll actually now, I mean it falls under its own, kind of falls under its own weight. What I'm going to do, a little bit of light oil that leaves a residue there. And it wants to just fall now under its own weight. Okay, so we actually pop it through there as it goes through the new valve stem seal. You can actually see it's got it now, it's got hold of it. Okay, so it's seated. So again, I'm going to move along, put the next one in. Okay, you can actually hear it hit the valve stem seal. Okay, and there it is as it's hit the stem seal, and same deal in there. Okay, and then through. Okay, now the stem seals are any good, which we know they are because they're new, but they should hold them now. They shouldn't actually drop out, it says. And there's the stems through the, up the valve guide and actually through the stem seals. Okay, I'm hoping at some of that angle you've got it. Okay, so we know the valves are in their right place. I've got to get the springs sorted and the spring compressor now. So pick it up in a minute when I get that organised and get them out of the, but yeah, there we go. Stem seals and our valves just lapped in a little bit, just a tickle back in again. Okay, then we'll have the exhaust valves to do, which are here again going forward. So yeah, pick it up in a minute. So the next stage is identifying what else we've got. Now these are all spring preloaders and they sit, if we can get, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll pick the one up that came from, I'll pick that one up. What they do, because you've got 2 valve springs, they sit in the alley head between the spring and the head essentially, and they're of different thicknesses because the springs are at different thickness, length springs. So what they do, if we put, now I've gone on to this one, this is our valve spring. If we have a look at our valve spring, they're of different lengths to the keeper. Okay, they preload the spring up to a set what Honda said it should be. So all we do now is we just literally drop it on, they hold the, and it's the same deal now for every, just make sure that it's sat right. He says knocking the retainer off, keeper, whatever you want to call it. Put all the spacers on. So I've got that one in there, make sure it's sat right in the head, and then that one find doing it all together makes sure you don't actually forget doing one. You do each step. When you get to my age, you forget where you live. Right, okay, so they're all in, and now springs are going to go in. So we've got the springs sat down now on the valves, and we're ready now to use the valve spring compressor. This is one I've had donkey's years. I mean, it's actually opened out and had this one, but anyway, it's as good as any for the job. And essentially now all we do is get it in the head, sat on the keeper. How much of this is going to be, I'm going to just try and preload the spring up now, see if I can change the camera angle. So just make sure it's sat on the spring properly, and we don't fire a valve out. I'm going to sit it on the edge here like that. So now I definitely know how much of that can you see? Let me have a look. Okay, in here it's the oil that's on there at the minute. So you just see the stem sticking up. Just see the stem in there sticking up. Now I don't know whether I'm going to knock this frigging camera off in a minute. We need 2 collets. Okay, 2 collets going to go in. They're going to actually retain that valve in its position. This can be awkward so many times as well. I've had a situation of this where you think it's all seated, you try winding it out and it launches one like the Apollo 13. Never to be seen again. Comes out the traps like a, you know, because the camera's running on here, they will not. Sometimes I did actually have an old magnetic screwdriver and a bit of grease but yet when I did that head I had no problem, so I thought, well, I'll just do it the same way. I might be reverting to the magnetic screwdriver and a bit of grease. Right, before the swearing starts, I will sign off and I'll come back when we've got them all in. And there we have it. All valves done, new stem seals fitted, valves in place, and ready to be fitted. Perhaps a little bit more, just making sure this is sound on here, the good old-fashioned way. You can't get a drill in there anyway, so to do it with a drill. So right, great stuff. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll pick it up on the next bit.